Time and time again, we hear about the BRICS alliance ramping up cooperation and more countries requesting to join. And with Egypt's recent request to be its next member, it begs the question of whether the alliance can survive each country's personal interests as it continues to grow. After all, China is the only BRICS member that everyone trades with, but how much cooperation is there between countries excluding China? I mean, India and China always have border disputes, Russia is in a war, South Africa can barely keep the lights on, while Brazil's economy is shrinking. So all that considered, it's safe to say that the alliance has internal problems. Which is why I wanted to explore the sustainability of BRICS and if it could actually outlive the ambitions and challenges member countries face. We'll also refer to the polarizing Peter Zeihan to get his thoughts on where he thinks BRICS stands in its desire to take over the global economy. So let's not waste any more time and dig in. The BRICS countries bring a whole mix of economic landscapes to the party, each with its own strengths and challenges. China, being the big shot of the group, has seen some seriously impressive economic growth, making it a major player on the global stage. But Russia's economy has been a bit all over the place, thanks to some political tensions and those wild swings in commodity prices. Meanwhile, Brazil and South Africa depend heavily on exporting commodities, so their economic ups and downs are tied to what's happening in the global market. And let's not forget India, doing its own thing with a massive market potential and ongoing reforms. Taking all of these differences into account is key when figuring out if the BRICS can really unite and shake up the global financial order.
But the leader of the BRICS countries do get together from time to time to shop. No meaningful policy has ever come out of it because these countries don't really trade. I mean, they all trade with China, of course, but they don't trade with one another. So there's a reason to caucus with Beijing, but the rest of it is just kind of fluff, always has been. And so when I see stories about other countries such as South Africa or Argentina or now Saudi Arabia starting to join, I'm like, this is really boring because these countries really have nothing in common. But anyway, as the conspiratorial logic goes, if they stop using the US dollar, then the US is doomed.
But these economic differences create some major obstacles for them to work together and come up with a common currency. These disparities show up in things like how they trade, how their economies are growing, and how open they are financially. Bringing all those differences together and finding common ground for a single currency is no small feat. On top of that, each country has its own goals, priorities, and money situations, making it even trickier to align their economic strategies and stand united against the US dollar stronghold. And that's not all. Each of the BRICS countries has its own unique set of challenges within their own borders. Russia, for example, has to deal with geopolitical tensions and economic sanctions, which kind of makes it hard to predict what's going to happen with their economy. Brazil and South Africa have their own issues too, like income inequality, high unemployment rates, and limited money to work with. These internal problems adds another layer of complexity to their efforts to work together and make it really tough for them to actually put a dent in the US dollar's domination. Moreover, as the largest economy in the group, China holds some serious sway over where things are headed. But here's the thing, China's interests might not always match up perfectly with those of the other member countries. They're all about diversifying their surpluses, breaking free from the clutches of the US dollar, and finding new investment opportunities and places to stash their cash. Now, the other BRICS members, especially the ones dealing with commodities, might seem like good investment prospects, but can they really provide the stability, the money flow, and the solid financial infrastructure that China needs? That's the big question here. It's a delicate balance for the BRICS because they want to reduce their reliance on the US dollar, but at the same time, they don't want to end up becoming overly dependent on China. China's own economic and geopolitical interests come into play here, and that could have an impact on how well the whole BRICS gang holds together and gets things done. Now, here's the thing. People have been buzzing about the idea of the BRICS crew coming up with their own currency to take on the almighty US dollar. Sounds like a pretty cool idea, right? Well, hold on to your horses. There are some serious practical challenges standing in the way. Creating a unified currency is no walk in the park. It takes a whole lot of economic convergence, policy coordination, and financial integration among all the member countries. Just ask the European Union about their Eurozone experience. It's been a wild ride to say the least. And here's the deal. The BRICS countries have their own unique economic differences, policy priorities, and ways of doing things. Bringing all of that together and getting everyone on the same page for a unified currency is kind of like herding cats. Not like physically herding herding cats, like getting them to, I think you know. Anyways, just wanted to make that clear. Plus, if they really want to make all this happen, they gotta set up all the right institutions like a central bank, regulatory mechanisms, and ways to coordinate their fiscal policies. That takes some serious planning, consensus, and commitment from all the countries involved, and they're not quite there yet. So while the idea of a unified BRICS currency might sound pretty cool, we gotta face the reality that it's a tough nut to crack. There's a whole bunch of work and coordination needed before we can even think about making it a reality. But let's get real for a minute. The BRICS gang has been talking big about taking on the almighty US dollar, but let's not kid ourselves. It's not going to be a piece of cake. The US dollar's global dominance is deeply rooted in the strength of the American economy, its role in global trade and finance, and the solid financial infrastructure it's got going on. The BRICS crew might be making some noise with their economic progress, but they haven't come up with a currency or a financial system that can actually give the US dollar a run for its money.
There's an idea that you'll have a jointly managed currency, something that's maybe launched off of the International Monetary Fund's secure deposits. Their SDFs are what they called. But that's not a currency. That's not even a unit of exchange. That's simply an accounting fiction that has been created because the money that comes into the IMF comes in from several dozen locations. They need some sort of central accessing. In terms of volume, SDFs would have to expand by at least a factor of 1,000 in order to manage global trade. And now we're getting into kind of the guts of what you really need if you want to have a global currency. It has to be huge. It has to be enough to lubricate the global exchange mechanisms, which at last check was in the tens of trillions. And that doesn't mean that your currency has to be in the tens of trillions. That means you have to be able to lubricate the exchange of tens of trillions. Your currency needs to be even bigger.
Point being is that shifting to a new global reserve currency is a massive deal. It involves some serious changes in systems and politics that go way beyond just what the BRICS countries want. It's going to take trust, stability, widespread acceptance, and some solid mechanisms for international settlements. And right now, the BRICS countries just don't have that in place. But don't get me wrong, they can definitely make some moves in regional financial cooperation and shake up the global financial landscape a bit. But whether they can truly challenge the US dollar's dominance, there's nothing pointing in that direction. So it's safe to say that the BRICS alliance faces significant challenges in achieving unity and challenging the dominance of the US dollar. Diverse economic landscapes, internal problems, and differing interests hinder effective cooperation. While the idea of a unified currency is appealing, it requires extensive coordination and establishment of institutions. The BRICS alliance may make regional financial strides, but it's unlikely to pose a major threat to the US dollar's dominance in the near future. But that's only one of the many things that we like to talk about here on Profit Protection. Whether it's geopolitics, the economy, or technology, we've got you covered on all fronts. So by subscribing, we can make a deal where you get entertained and we can keep the lights on. And if you enjoyed the video, consider liking to let us know what you want to see from us. In the meantime, you might like to check out this other video of ours where we talk about China's Ponzi-like property market. Yeah, China's going through it too. As for now though, that's all we have in store for you. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and until next time, we'll be seeing you.